Let's talk functional capacity and pain threshold. So these are both very similar concepts, but they're going to have a little bit different flavor depending on whether or not you're dealing with injury. Functional capacity is basically a fancy way of saying how much work you can do, how much work you're prepared to do, versus pain threshold or injury threshold is the amount of work that would take to cause damage, cause pain, etc. So we all have these ethereal capacities at any given time, but it's going to change from person to person depending on the activity and the volume that you're prepared for. One person can go out and run 50K, no issue. The next person can go and run 5. Myself, I know if I go out and run 50K, my knee is going to hurt, but that's going to be above my functional capacity and also my pain threshold. But I know if I go out and run 10 to 15K, I'm going to be fine. So my capacity is somewhere between those two markers. When you have an injury now, often you've exceeded your capacity and now you've dropped down your pain threshold or your pain trigger. So if someone comes in and they're dealing with runner's knee, they may have just exceeded their capacity to adapt. They weren't necessarily prepared for that amount of volume, and now they have a lowered or more sensitized pain threshold. That also explains why previously painless activities are all of a sudden painless. When you have an ankle sprain, all of a sudden walking around is painful. Well, your pain threshold is a lot lower if you have irritated tissue or potentially damage. So when we look at rebuilding someone's capacity, it's one of the reasons we use strength training to do that and a lot of rehab-based exercises. We're trying to build that capacity back up so that we can build that pain threshold back up before we reintroduce activity again. A mistake that a lot of people make is they exceed their capacity, their pain threshold drops, they wait, they just do complete rest and do nothing. Their pain goes away, but then their capacity also goes back down. They try and reintroduce their activity and they're surprised that they get injured again. So what we need to do instead is we need to build that capacity back up so that when we reintroduce it at a more moderate intensity, a more moderate volume, we're still sub-threshold within the capacity, and then we slowly build from there.